Hi, and welcome to sentence pattern number 4, or how the Greeks knew a thing or two about sentence patterns. You've noticed we've switched up our appearance a little bit. I'm going to be looking at this sentence pattern from a slightly different point of view because it goes right to the Greek study of rhetoric. Here's the plan. First, we're going to talk about why it's good to write sentences in a series. It makes sense. We'll look at what makes sentence pattern number 4 a little bit different, explore why somebody's going to use this rhetorical device that is called a syndeton, and of course, as always, we'll practice. First of all, a series. A series, of course, is a list. It's probably the first time you learned how to use a comma. You put it between items in a series. Here are two examples just to jog your memory a little bit, and you could see why we even make a series. Why do we make a list when we write? Despite recent evidence about the dangers of nitrates, she will never give up hot dogs, salami, and bacon. Here we have a list of 3 nouns. At the end of this sentence, there are commas between every part because, of course, I love that Oxford comma. You've got to have the comma after salami. Look at the next sentence. We moved to the city so we would never have to mow the lawn, mulch the garden, or rake the leaves. This series is a little bit different. It's phrases. So what is sentence pattern number 4, and what does it have to do with a list? Here's another example that's going to make this clear. The historic joy of Boston can be found down cobblestone streets, beneath sinking graveyards, and behind the green monster at Fenway. This sentence can be better. How can it be better? By using sentence pattern 4. If you look at the first example, it works grammatically, it makes perfect sense, but I want you to listen to it versus pattern 4. The historic joy of Boston can be found down cobblestone streets, beneath sinking graveyards, behind the green monster at Fenway. What's the difference? Well, what is it that makes pattern 4 different? I'm sure you figured it out. It's the and. In pattern 4, we have a series without a conjunction, A, comma, B, comma, C, no conjunction between B and C. So why would we use this pattern? Well, really there are 3 reasons. The first is that it gives you flow. Your sentence flows one idea into the next. More importantly, it leaves this impression with the reader that there are more examples you're just not talking about. There's something else amazing that could be included on this list. If you're talking about historic Boston, think of all of the other wonderful items that you could include on that list. We could talk about Paul Revere. We could talk about clam chowder. Anyway, it also has a great effect of speeding up the sentence. Always a nice touch. The Greeks had a name for pattern number 4. It is called a syndeton. Aristotle even spoke of this bit of rhetoric, and he called it a dramatic device best suited for oratory. And as you'll see, quite a few people use a syndeton in speeches. It's useful and it's dramatic. Here is famous example number 1. Julius Caesar, in a letter to the Roman Senate around 46 BC, said, Veni, vidi, vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. Each part of this in the Latin, we put commas in between each part of it. There is no conjunction before the vici. He wants it to flow. It certainly does so, and it makes his point beautifully. Famous example number 2. One of our great writers, who also happened to be one of our greatest presidents. The government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish. Abraham Lincoln said this in the Gettysburg Address. Think of how it would sound if it was the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish. It just wouldn't have the same ring. Here we have a very modern example of a syndeton, a rhetorical device that First Lady Michelle Obama actually uses quite often.
And I am truly humbled to speak to you tonight on an evening that is so special for all of you, for this academy, for your families, for this country.
Did you hear what she just did there? That's a syndeton. No conjunction, and it really flows. Okay, so on our nitrates theme from earlier, I've taken my sentence and flipped it up a little bit for Twitter. Recent news about nitrates has me worried about my love of hot dogs, my devotion to mortadella, my obsession with bacon. Sentence pattern 4. See what I'm doing here on this tweet? I was able to save some letters by eliminating the conjunction and, which would have fallen right in there. And I'm also able to give the impression that my obsession with bacon is not the end of it, which of course is true. Here's a summary of your tasks. You need to go to Twitter, post your own sentence pattern number 4. Make sure you label it sentence pattern 4 and send it to me at Ms. Verb. Don't forget to use commas between all the parts of your series. Challenge each other to write the best sentences using, of course, sentence pattern number 4. And as always, have some fun.